Why was the golem mad at her husband? Because he is always taking her for granted. Hey, I'm Alex Ratcliffe from Board Game Co, and today I'm reviewing Golem from Cranio Creations, a fairly heavy Eurogame of interweaving pathways as you try to build out a bunch of golems, try to take advantage of their growth as they get progressively stronger, unlocking more and more benefits that you can get, all while trying to keep them in control and potentially put them down if need be, all while managing your artifacts and your books and your knowledge tracks, trying to balance all these different things at the same time across 4 rounds of play, across 12 actions, only 12 actions, as you try to get as many points as possible in this mid to heavyweight Eurogame. That's the high level, and we're not going to go into heavy detail in every aspect. I'll go through the round, overview the round, general, the way the game plays out, but don't expect every icon explained or every interlinking thing. This is not a how to play, and this game has a lot going on. Not too much, not overly overwhelming, but a lot going on. Over here we have the main board, we have the individual player board, and then we have the action selection track, where every single round we're going to go ahead and follow this turn order selection, where we'll reset the tiles on this track. These are going to be special tiles where you can send your rabbi out to. We're going to discard the leftmost card in this track, and again, that's going to vary in the first round. You're not going to do that. And then we're going to go ahead and dump the marbles, and this is dependent upon player count, but we're going to grab the marbles, and we're going to toss them into the synagogue. Yep, they go ahead, they go landing into the synagogue, they define the actions that you'll take as they roll down here, and then you're going to line that up with this section over here as you choose the 5 core actions you can take, and you're doing each of those actions based on the strength of the marbles. We'll come back to that. Then you're going to go ahead and march your golems forward. Once you're done with the setup of each round, you're going to march your golems forward. You're going to march them equal to your own track there that will be going up and down as you kill golems or create golems. You'll be modifying that track. You're going to march your golems. You're going to add the round modifier from these cards. Those are the 4 rounds of play. And you'll march your golems that many. So for example, right now, I have to move 3 from that track, 2 from there, and I'm going to have to go a collective 5 forward. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. I'm going to stop there because if I start crossing over while there are still perks to be had, there's also penalties for crossing too far, so you want to be very mindful of how powerful your golems will get and what they're doing. So I've moved 3 over there, and let's go ahead and move 1 more over here to stay in control, and I think I want to move up 1 on the book track. We'll have to figure that out because we want to be mindful of where our students are. Our students are trying to keep control of the golems, and there's a price to be paid when your golems are too powerful. From there, you go to the next step where you start taking the actions. Remember I told you have 3 actions every single round, 4 rounds total, 12 actions. You're going to be taking 2 marble actions and 1 rabbi action every single round. And you can do that in whatever order you choose. Choosing your rabbi and going ahead and choosing one of the action tiles. And this is set up for a 2-player game, although I do have too many marbles for a 2-player game. But you're going to have these action tiles that are going to be rotating every single round. They're going to be moving out. But right now we have these 3 over here. And we're going to choose our rabbi, put it down, and we're going to move up 1 on the book track over here. That's going to be the book symbol. And we can immediately activate an actual book that we had, or a knowledge track and a book. We can go ahead and activate a book. This would be a terrible action to take right now because I don't actually have any books set up over there. Over here, you'll get 3 clay. You'll be able to build a golem, and you can move a golem forward or backwards 1. So those are all going to give you small modifications to the things you can do. But the core actions over here give you 5 things. And one of them is basically a copyright action, a copy action, not a copyright. The first action is going to allow you to activate your golems. You're going to pay a respective number of knowledge. You're going to activate that many golems. You're going to lay them down on the track, paying more the more you activate, and take the bonus of where they are. And further along the track is always better. While these tiles have more than the 7 you see over here, they are randomized and shuffled up. You'll choose 7 from 10 and then order them based on number, so you always have the stronger actions later on in the track. You're going to activate them, taking 3 golems over here, activating one of my artifacts, and then moving backwards 1 on the blue track in order to get 3 points and move up 1 on the knowledge track. Each of these tiles gives you a different benefit. Again, we're not heavily going to go into them, but they give you resources. They allow you to create golems, to move them around, to move them backward and forward, to kill golems, to activate your artifacts, to give up money for points, to give up movement for points. Everything just giving you some version of something good. It's just a question of what exactly it's doing. From there, we're going to go ahead and move to the next track, and over here you get a discount based on the number of marbles there are. So normally for 3 golems I'd have to pay 5 knowledge of these over here, but I'll only have to pay 1 instead because of that discount. The next track allows you to get clay, and then to upgrade 1 of your golem tiles, and then to go ahead and create a golem, paying 3 clay, plus possibly more if you're putting it on a track that already has golems. This is going to be a huge part of the game because eventually your golems have to be killed. They're constantly charging forward. They will eventually have to be killed unless you want to pay huge fines and points for not killing them. And so killing golems and building new golems is a part of the ecosystem of the game. From there, and then these These upgrade tiles all give you some way that golems are better. You can double the reward you get for killing off a golem. You can go ahead and immediately move your golems when you create them. You could ignore the movement modifier of those cards at the end of the round. They're all giving you something to be mindful of and also are going to give you endgame scoring. We'll come back to that. The next action is going to give you coins and it's going to allow you to take an artifact upgrade. That's going to be one of the other central paths. You primarily have three main tracks you're being mindful of in this game. You're going to have your knowledge track, your golem track, and your artifact track, and you're going to want to pick at least one of those to heavily focus on and then dabble in the others to varying degrees in order to build out the best engine that you can. Then it's going to allow you to go ahead and take an upgrade over in the artifact track. It's going to allow you to pay 3 money to place a gold down in one of these spots, which will upgrade one of those artifacts, eventually allowing you to generate recurring revenue and potentially other ways of getting stuff from that artifact track over there. The next track down is going to be the Books of the Knowledge. You're going to get some knowledge token, these little owl symbols. You're going to go ahead and move up on one of these upgrades. So you can either flip this track over here, which gives you better income and better rewards over there, or alternatively, you can upgrade one of these tiles over here, which is where you're going to be slotting your books. You'll pay the knowledge cost, and then you'll go ahead and actually buy a book, which is going to be this book track over here, and that has its own little puzzle in the sense that you have to pay the cost on top of the book, pay the cost underneath it. So for example, this book will cost me 3 knowledge. I'll take the immediate action right away, so I can go ahead and move up 1 on this track again. I will slot it into a slot, and then I will go ahead and from the bottom up, I'll activate the ability here, as well as any books that are previously there. So right now I get 2 points, 1 money, and another point. And I can keep slotting books to that slot, although every color is locked to a column. Meaning now that I've placed the blue book here, I can only place blue books here. I can place whatever colors I want here, but as soon as you place a color somewhere, it can only go in that column. And then lastly on this track, you're going to have the mirror action. You pay a coin, and then you mirror any other action at the strength of this action, and also have the ability to pay 3 coins to move up 1 other knowledge track. Those are the 5 core actions you're going to do throughout the course of the game. Those 5 core actions, you're only going to do them, 6 times? No, I'm doing this wrong. 8 times. 8 times. 2 times per round. 4 rounds. You're going to do those actions 8 times total, plus 4 rabbi actions, and that is the entire sequence. When you're done with that, you're going to arrange turn order based on who has the rabbi higher up in the track. Then you're going to go ahead and activate these cards over here, potentially getting a benefit depending on the marbles you took. Because when you take a marble, if it's a colored marble, you move that student forward 1. If it's a black marble, you move any 2 students forward 1. And if it's a white marble, you don't move any students forward, but it counts as wild for this next step, which is if you've taken the goal marbles for the round. If I've taken a red and a yellow, or a red and a white, or a yellow and a white, or 2 whites, then I get to do the benefit on that card, either getting money on the bottom end or paying money for some sort of larger benefit on the top end. So if you plan appropriately around those, you can wind up with even more extra bonuses throughout the course of the game. And then finally from there we collect our income. You get to pay for any one upgrade of any color, and then lastly you have to pay to control your golems. Your golems are going to be on the tracks at various points, and for each golem you have to pay the difference between where the golem is and where your student is. This golem requires 2 knowledge to maintain control. This one requires 2 knowledge, and you'll lose points for every golem you cannot maintain control of. That's basically the game. That's the sequence. Rinse and repeat for 4 rounds, and that's how you play the game. Endgame scoring. Let's talk about endgame scoring. Endgame scoring is going to be this card over here, where you can go ahead and you're going to be multiplying the menorahs you've gotten across the course of the game. You can get them for crossing this track with your students, but you're primarily going to get them from the upgrades. When you flip your book upgrades, when you flip your golem upgrades or your artifact upgrades, they're all going to reveal variable numbers of menorahs, and you're going to be multiplying that menorah by the amount of upgrades you have of that type. So for example, over here, you're going to multiply the number of red menorahs you have by the number of golems you have that you have created. If you've created all 4 golems and you have 7 menorahs, that's going to be 28 points. If you've created 3 of your artifacts and have 5 artifacts, 5 yellow menorahs, that's going to be 15 points. You're going to do that for the book columns as well, how many columns you filled up with books, in order to try to figure out your score that you're going to be getting from the extra menorahs and your end game scoring, which is easily going to be half of your score. I guess it depends on the game, but you're looking at potentially half your score coming from endgame scoring, especially when you factor in that you're also going to score for these objective cards you drafted in the beginning of the game. These objective cards are going to give you specific things you're going for. If you went ahead and you moved your blue person all the way up to the 7th column, the 6th column, then you're going to get 4 points. If you kill 3 golems, you're going to get 4 points. And at the bottom, you get rewards for achieving different objectives, meaning sometimes you have similar objectives like this, and while you could score both, those count as a similar objective, and so you don't get that different objective reward. That's how you play Golem. go across 4 rounds, be mindful of the point scoring, do all the stuff, do all the interleaving tracks, move these books down, put out a new book, go through a little bit of maintenance every single round, rinse and repeat, taking all these actions and trying to chain them together in different ways. Some small things we didn't cover. There's a passing mechanism over here at play in terms of the way you can, if you don't like the marbles you have, you can pass and then slowly put them back, but lose a marble along the way. I don't want to get heavily bogged down in every detail, but it's basically about managing those 3 tracks, upgrading your abilities within each track, getting progressively more powerful. I mean, imagine this book track here. Every time you slot a new book, you get to unlock the benefits of all the prior books underneath it, leading to higher and higher chains. Your golems, as they advance up the track, you're getting more and more. Your students, as you advance up the track, they're collecting passive income every single round. Your artifacts, you're going to start getting more and more powerful artifacts, giving you income, giving you bonuses, and potentially giving you ways to activate them in different ways. If I go ahead and put that there, then every time I take a red marble, I can activate that as well. And they're all giving you different ways to find the patterns for, to find the little extra stuff that you can do in Golem. So, review time. Ease of play. The rules are actually fairly straightforward. They're not overly long. They're fairly to the point and direct. I would say there's a lot of chaining between different things that can take some time to get your head wrapped around, and there's a lot of iconography. You're going to, until you get comfortable with the game. Once you get comfortable with it, you can see a new tile and understand exactly what it does. But until you do, there's iconography on the cards, there's iconography on the characters, there's iconography on every single one of these tiles. There's iconography plastered across your entire board. Every single upgrade has iconography. Every single thing is just plastered with tons of symbols. Now again, once you get going in the game, once you have a game under your belt, it's pretty easy to understand what it's doing. This is going to let me build a golem at a discount of 2, and then it's going to give me a point for my strength track. It's going to give me a point for the level I'm at the strength track. Pretty simple. Most of the time they are pretty simple. And the rulebook has them all listed out beautifully on the back 2 pages. So anytime you have a question, it's right there showing you exactly what it is that they do. But again, that's all after a game. The first game is going to be a lot of questions of what does this do and how does this upgrade work? Even once you teach the game, there's a lot of things to be kind of mindful of and a lot of small intricacies. And I find one of the things that tends to trip people up the most is the artifact track over there. For some reason, something about the other tracks comes across as more intuitive. The artifact track is the one that I find myself constantly having to re-explain to people exactly what it does, how it activates, how the variety of bonuses work over there. It's a little bit more complicated, not significantly so, but I think that really can describe the entire process of learning Golem. It's not that complicated, but there's enough stuff going on that it feels like there's a lot to take in, and there is a lot to take in, especially strategically speaking. As far as player count, this is a 1 to 4 player game. I have not played the solo mode. I've played this at 2, 3, and 4 players. 2, I think, is my favorite player count, although it also might be a strike against the game for you. The reason I think 2 is my favorite player count is because the interaction in this game is low. Sure, you're competing over the marbles you get, and you're competing over the manures in this lane, and you're arguably going for certain cards. There's not a lot of interaction in the game past the actions you're taking and the going for those tiles over there. Most of what you're doing is building up your own engine, doing your own thing with minimal interaction, and that minimal interaction means that the third player primarily adds downtime to the game, and a fourth player even more so. 2 players is arguably my favorite player count with this so far. 3 players is incredibly solid and I happily play that any single time. And 4 players I'm already a little resistant to as the game length starts to creep out longer than the experience I'm getting out of it without adding that much. It doesn't even add that camaraderie of a third player, so turning it from a 2-player experience to a bit more of a game night experience. And so while I will play this at 4, I'm happy to do so, it's not my ideal pick at 4. I think 2 and 3 are where I like this game the most so far. As far as what I like, don't like, and can see how it's not liking, first of all, I am pulled in by the theme. As a religious Orthodox Jew, having a game about golems is something that I like. And don't get me wrong, they don't do like complete justice to the exact thematic aspect, but I don't expect that from my games. I don't care. I mean, it's a board game. I'm fine with what it's doing over here. Nothing strikes me as immediately offensive. I'm sure you can find someone who will be offended by it. I'm not speaking for them. I'm speaking for myself only. For me, it's nice to see a Jewish theme on a game that is really well done, like a really solid game. Spoilers to my final opinion, I guess, and all that, but I really like this game. And this is possibly the first Jewish-themed game that I really like. And so yes, on a personal note that's specific to me, I very much like the theme and what it's doing, especially when you combine it with the designers of this game, the company behind this game, and actually throwing an incredible game on the table with a theme that is unique to me, I guess, in terms of game design. Past that, moving past the theme to other things, this game has a lot going on that I like in games. It has, and it does so despite having only 12 actions and only 4 rounds, which are often things that I always feel like I want to get a bit more done. And that's still true, by the way. I still want to get a bit more done in Golem, but that's something that I get better at every single time I play, and I have ideas and thoughts we'll talk about at the end. But across 12 actions, and you only have 12 actions, across 12 actions, the amount you get done is incredible. The way you can move up the tracks, the way you can chain bonuses, the way you buy a book, the way you upgrade your books, the way you upgrade your artifacts and start earning bonuses there. And you can choose different artifact tracks as well, by the way. They're not all the exact same over there. The way you move up your golems over here, taking the various benefits of the various spots. There's a ton of pathways forward, and it's a game which you're going to do a little bit of everything and then a lot of something. You're going to want to pick your lane. You're going to want to say, I'm going to be the best golem creator you have ever seen. I'm going to build them all. I'm going to upgrade my bonuses. I'm going to build all my 4 golems plus the 2 starting ones. I'm going to march them along the track. I'm going to kill them at the right time. I'm going to take their graveyard benefits over there, but I'm going to be taking double their graveyard benefits because I made sure to upgrade that action. You're constantly trying to find a single track that you will just eke every single thing you possibly can out of that track. And then you're doing a little bit of everything else because every track gives you a little bit of everything else. You're going to build another book or 2 because it will help you and it'll give you a few extra options on the table. You're going to go ahead and dabble in some artifacts because, again, it will help your engine, maybe a little more recurring income around that golem creating machine that you are building. You're going to choose one of the tracks, heavily lean into it, do a little bit of everything else around it, and those small intricacies of the way the actions tie together. The way that you're really focusing on the books, but you made sure to go over here and then kill a golem and get some extra points because your golems are getting out of control and you're not heavily focusing on them. So it's better off to just kill them, get them over here to the graveyard, lock in 4 points, call it a day. It's one less thing to manage. It's one less thing to worry about. The game gives you a lot of stuff to think about as you build out your competitive advantage and as you buy the various upgrades or actions or benefits or everything that the game gives you and figure out how to do that. And powering up your golems, which I guess is specific to the golem track, but usually a part of the game regardless of what track you're doing, powering up your golems is fun, it's satisfying, and then murdering them is satisfying too. Watching your golems get further and further up the track, taking the largest benefit. When I get my golem over here, I can reactivate 3 different books that I've built, taking a bunch of benefits for books that I've already put onto my board, it's huge. Or maybe one further back, I can buy a book at a discount of 5. Getting your hands on resources in this game is tight, and buying a book at a discount of 5 is absolutely huge. And then, because I don't want him to murder off over there, I'm going to walk around and again, kill him, grab a little gold bar, and now suddenly, before you know it, I now have some extra recurring revenue coming in every single round. All the actions chain together like that. All of them give you something that gives you something else, that feeds into something else, that rewards you somewhere else, and the way you chain those all together is incredibly rewarding in the game. As far as what I don't like, there's 2 things. One that I already have a solution for, and 2 that I don't yet. The first one is the fact that in a 2-player game, which currently is my favorite player count, the one thing I don't like is if you have a player who's not going for these books over here, and you have a player who does, these books do not rotate out fast enough. You see, at the beginning of every single round, you remove the leftmost book card from the track, and then you slide everything down, put out a new one, and that works great when you have players who are going for books. If you're the only player at the table who's going for books, if the other player buys 1 book the entire game, and the rest of it just comes down to me, and then the occasional once-around cycle, that's just not enough, and that has been frustrating, especially because you need different colors to fill up these slots and to maximize the book track. If you're heavily going for the book track, and those colors just don't show up because of the luck of the draw, well, that can be a huge impact. That could be an extra 8 points in the game, which is problematic and frustrating. Now, for me personally, what I've started doing already is I now get rid of the left 2 cards whenever I'm playing it at 2 players. It gives a little bit more rotation. It means you're a little bit more variety in the book track and a little bit less victim to the luck of the draw aspect, while not otherwise hurting the experience, at least for ourselves. So that's very specifically a house rule that we've implemented, but it fixes that problem in terms of the base game. Well, it only is the base game. The second thing I don't like, I don't have an easier solution for, and my solution is a little interesting, which is this marble track. Because of the way this tower is designed, because of the way this works, you have a little bit of randomness there, but it kind of, it's a very strong line, and the way you throw things in there is going to be catered based on how you drop them. So, for example, if I go ahead and drop these marbles, if I can actually pick them up, if I drop these in there and I drop them from the center, they will bias towards the center. If I drop them from the left or the right, they'll bias towards that side. Not necessarily exclusively, but for example, if I drop, 4 marbles into the center, we have 3 in the center, 1 to the left, that, right over there, I'll do that again. And again, you can see that they're drifting there. They're not really getting to the top part over there. And so I found that the only reliable solution right now is to do something like that. To toss them from a further distance, although arguably we didn't get anything on the top there anyways. But I have, oh, there we go. You see there, we found 2 on the top. I have found that throwing the marbles from a further distance or dropping them from really high up to avoid any subconscious bias as to where they roll, I just wish this had a little bit more randomness as opposed to feeling like I'm catering or adjusting where they're going, which can be a big deal in a game where this action track is absolutely everything. As far as what I can see others not liking, a few small things there. First of all, I touched upon already, this game absolutely is multiplayer solitaire. There's no question about it. You're competing over some of these actions. Sure, I'll remove a marble, you take the action at a lower strength, but at the end of the day, you are competing over very little. Even these actions, you're not competing over who takes the action, you're competing over who gets that extra 1 discount. Over here, this is the most competitive thing you see because these tiles, which you'll be loading in every single round, which have more iconography on them, these can be huge in terms of the strategy you're going for, and locking in those, that can be a question of trying to get there first. Everything else, not so much. Everything else, this is more about doing your own little engine, playing your own game, and worrying about the others to a small peripheral sense, but really just trying to be the best golem creator rabbi that you can possibly be. Past that, lots of icons. Again, I touched upon this already. This game is chock full of icons, and while it does get easier as you play, there's always that one-off exception of exactly how things work. So for example, let's just find one over here that will be a little bit less obvious. I don't even know where it is. Here we go. Over here we have the opportunity to go ahead and activate a golem, but how is that different than this one over here where you can also activate a golem? And I think earlier I said this way, you create a golem, you need the stone symbol for that to be create. This is how you activate a golem. That's going to be creating a golem. Yeah, that's a good example right here. We have creating a golem at a discount of 2, activating a golem and laying them down, activating a golem and not laying them down, so you can activate them again. You have small things like that that will get in the way, even as you start to get more and more familiar with the icons and the way it all works. It's not the end of the world, but it certainly is a barrier to entry in the experience. Additionally, you absolutely have to specialize in this game. That might be a problem. If you want to be a jack of all trades, doing a little bit of everything, you're going to lose the game. You want to heavily focus on one of the tracks, be the best thing at that track, and then you will inherently be dabbling in everything else. Don't get me wrong, you will absolutely have a little bit of a hand in every single pot here, but you're going to need to specialize heavily in one as opposed to being pretty good at all 3. And then lastly, this is a very thinky game. Lots of brain burnery, lots of take backsies. In every game I play, there's always that, like, I'm taking this action. No, forget it. I'm putting the marble back. I'm doing this action instead. I'm good. I'm doing this. There's a constant degree, at least in our games, of having a few times per game where players take a long time trying to think through their turns and then take it back and then undo it because of how you only have 12 actions in the game and because of how each action cascades into other benefits. Everything you do has such a large tail end of a consequence that you really want to heavily think about what you're doing, how it impacts your game, how much money are you making, are you taking that marble that's going to activate that card over there, do you have the money to even pay for that, if you're just getting the money bonus, is it worth it, how are you going to be dealing with your various golems and the students and paying for the knowledge, do you have all that taken care of? There's a lot of consequences every single round around those 3 actions, which makes this a fairly brain burnery experience, which just might not be what you're looking for. As far as final thoughts on Golem, I really like this game. And my starting point for reference, my starting point with Golem, my pathway as far as experiencing this one was I liked it, thought I'd eventually get rid of it, kept playing it, and continued to like it more and more and more. Now, thinking that I was going to get rid of it is not a strike against the game. It's the nature of the fact that I have only a handful of games that fall into this really heavier Euro category that I enjoy pulling out and playing. Games that really provide me enough payoff and variety in my collection that very often I play these styles of games and like, that was really good, but I'm also ready to go back to the ones I like or to try something else new at the same time. Very often these mid to heavy Euros I find are really solid but not keepers for me, and I thought Golem would fit into that category. Hey, it's a good game, great game, I recommend it. Also, I'm keeping, Coimbra and Food Chain Magnet instead. But the more I played this, the more everything became so much more intertwined. The more every single action you take has such a consequence, and there's so much satisfaction in building out your engine and scoring 140 points in a game where you start off thinking you'll be lucky to score 50. The game gives you so much opportunity to do things, to chain things together. It has a bit of a barrier to entry, not overly significant, but certainly there. But the game gives you the ability to feel like you pulled off a lot within only 12 actions because you did. Because that's what happens as you play this. You only have 12 actions, and it is about what you do, how you do it, and how you can eke every additional move out of the game state before those 12 actions are up. I really enjoy this. What you do in those 12 actions is incredible, and it's rewarding every single time. For me, this is a 4.5 out of 5. A 4.5 out of 5 for me. A really solidly enjoyable game. Perhaps biased by the theme. Take that into account. I certainly know I wanted this game because of the theme, but at the same time, I was also initially willing to get rid of it because of the theme, so I don't know how much it biases, but take that into account just in case. but I really like what this is doing. There's a lot of cascading benefits in ways that are immensely rewarding, that are very reminiscent of the style of game that I enjoy and the type of Euro that I have fun diving into. Speaking of which, as far as other game recommendations, I'm going to recommend Coimbra and Lorenzo Magnifico, which makes sense because they share 2 of the 3 designers, or I think all 3 of the designers were involved in Lorenzo, and 2 of them were involved with Coimbra, so there's definitely a lot of common DNA behind all those games, and Lorenzo with the expansion and Coimbra are amongst my favorite games of the genre in my collection, and I think Golem is joining those. The last note I'll say is as far as small modifications we've been making to the game. First of all, like I mentioned already, in a 2-player game, I pull out 2 cards instead of 1. I find it gives you more rotation, especially if another player is not buying books. Additionally, something we still want to experiment with, but I haven't actually yet, is while I feel I want to get a bit more done in this game, at the beginning of the game, you're going to have 2 of these resource tiles and then 3 objectives you're diving into the game with. We've been debating adding a 3rd resource tile, that when you get these resource tiles, and we like draft them, but when you get these resource tiles, to go ahead and take a 3rd one to potentially give you a tiny leg up. We haven't actually done it yet. The only reason I'm mentioning it is in case you do find yourself, like me, always wanting to get a bit more done, that small extra resource or 2 might be all the difference in giving you potentially too much extra. So something that I'm willing to dabble with to see whether this lets me get even more done and have even more fun with it. Or alternatively, I can also just wait for an expansion, because speaking for Lorenzo Magnifico, I can tell you that Lorenzo is a great example of a game that I really liked, was willing to get rid of, and then the expansion made it an absolute keeper for me. So that can happen in these games. In any case, until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, have a good one.